Captain Elias Kane sat in the command chair of the Starship Vanguard, staring at the swirling colors of the Andara cluster through the wide observation window. Stars of green, violet, and blue spun slowly in the distance, like paint mixed in water. This part of space had been mostly unexplored by humans, but recent reports indicated the presence of an advanced alien civilization on a planet called Scifi. Humanity's leaders had decided it was time to make contact, and Elias, a seasoned diplomat and trained explorer, had been chosen to represent Earth. He ran a hand through his dark hair, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. Making first contact with a powerful alien species could open opportunities or start wars. Humanity had learned from history that diplomacy often walked a fine line between success and disaster. "Captain Kane," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Mira Chen, her voice steady but nervous. "Zetherian space traffic is picking up. We're approaching their planetary orbit." Elias nodded. "Keep shields up, but don't broadcast our presence until we're in the right position. I want this to be formal." As the Vanguard entered Zytheria's orbit, Elias could see the planet below. Mountains of translucent crystal rose from the surface like giant glass towers. Rivers shimmered with light that seemed to reflect not only the sun, but something deeper, almost alive. Floating platforms drifted silently in the air, carrying strange vehicles that moved without engines, gliding as if the air itself were solid. "They're advanced," Elias murmured. "Far beyond anything we've seen." The ship descended carefully toward one of the larger floating platforms. Sensors indicated it was a landing area for visitors, and it hummed with a quiet energy. The doors opened, revealing a corridor that seemed to glow from within the walls. Smooth and metallic, it felt alive, almost as if it were watching them. Elias stepped out first, feeling the alien atmosphere brush against him. It was breathable but strange, warm, with a subtle sweetness, unlike anything on Earth. The Zelari guards awaited them. Tall, elegant beings with luminous eyes and sleek limbs, they moved with fluid grace, each step deliberate and precise. Their skin shimmered faintly under Zetheria's sun, showing patterns that changed with their movements. "Captain Elias Kane," a voice called. Elias turned to see a Zelari approaching. She wore ceremonial armor, delicate but intimidating. Her eyes glowed softly, and her posture radiated authority. "I am Queen Lysara of Zytheria. Welcome to our world." Elias bowed slightly, unsure whether humans were expected to bow. "Your Majesty," he said, keeping his voice respectful, "I am honored to meet you." The Queen inclined her head, a gesture that seemed like both approval and scrutiny. She spoke carefully, each word deliberate. "You come from a species I have observed with interest. Humans are unusual, resourceful, persistent. Perhaps too persistent at times." She paused, her gaze fixed on him. "I have a proposal for you, Captain Kane. One that may secure the future of your species and mine." Elias straightened. "I am listening, Your Majesty." Lysara gestured, and the doors behind her opened. They revealed a throne room unlike anything Elias had imagined. Light refracted through walls of crystal, casting rainbows across the floor. Floating platforms carried attendants who moved silently around them. In the center, a figure waited. Princess Nivara, the Queen's daughter. She was tall, her eyes glowing like her mother's, and her hair shimmered as though touched by the light of Zytheria itself. "You will marry my daughter," the Queen said plainly. Elias blinked. "What?" he asked, unsure if he had heard correctly. Lysara's expression did not change. "Yes, marriage is not about romance here. It is about strength, unity, and survival. The galaxy is changing. Threats are rising. My people need allies, and I have determined that humans, though young among the stars, are worthy allies." Will you marry my daughter and give us the strength we need?" Elias felt a wave of shock and confusion. Political marriages were a concept on Earth, but never so direct, never in front of an entire royal court. His mind raced. "Your Majesty, I am honored, but this is unprecedented. Humanity does not—" "We do not." "Captain Kane," the Queen interrupted, her voice firm. "I have observed your species closely. You have courage, ingenuity, willingness to act when others hesitate. You think in ways my people cannot. These qualities are invaluable. My daughter is strong and capable, but together, you will be stronger. Together, humans and Zalari can defend against the dangers we both face." Elias took a deep breath. He glanced at Princess Nivara, who studied him quietly, expression unreadable. There was no pressure in her eyes. No fear, only curiosity and intelligence. He realized that this was not about personal desire, it was about survival, strategy, and leadership. Elias started, then paused. He knew that any hesitation might be seen as weakness. "If this marriage is necessary to protect both our peoples, I will consider it." Lisara nodded. "Good. But understand this. It is more than a formality. You will live among my people. You will learn our ways, our language, our customs. You will demonstrate that humans can be trusted not only with words but with actions. Only then will this alliance be truly strong." The Queen waved her hand, and attendants brought forward a device. It projected a three-dimensional map of Zetheria and the surrounding sectors. "Our galaxy is not safe. The Karathi, the warlike species from beyond the Veil, expand their influence relentlessly. They attack civilizations that cannot defend themselves. Alone, my people may resist for a time, but the Karathi are patient and ruthless. Together, humans and Zalari have a chance. Your wisdom and courage could tip the balance." Elias studied the map carefully. Star systems glowed red where the Karathi had already attacked. He could see worlds being conquered, civilizations extinguished. He felt a familiar fire ignite within him, the desire to protect those who could not protect themselves. This was what he had trained for, not diplomacy for wealth or power, but to preserve life. "You ask much of me," Elias said quietly. "I will need time to understand your people, your customs, and your daughter." He gestured toward Nivara, who remained silent but attentive. "Marriage is a serious matter. Even for diplomacy, there are risks." Lisara's gaze softened slightly, though her authority remained. "Time will be given, but delay too long and the Karathi will exploit your indecision. Consider this carefully, Captain Kane. Your choice is not only yours, it affects countless lives." The weight of the responsibility settled on him. He had faced dangers in space before, but this was different. This was not about survival in a battle or navigating a storm of asteroids. This was about trust, loyalty, and the future of two species. He had to prove himself worthy, not just to the Zalari, but to humanity as well. "Very well," Elias said finally. "I will stay among your people. I will learn your ways, and I will demonstrate that humans are worthy allies." Lisara inclined her head once again. "Then you will begin your journey tomorrow. Princess Nivara will guide you. Observe, learn, and show courage. That is all I ask for now." Nivara stepped forward, her glowing eyes meeting his. "Captain Kane," she said softly, "this will not be easy. My people are particular. But if you are willing to try, I will help you understand us. We may not be the same, but perhaps we can find common ground." Elias nodded. "I will do my best." As he was escorted to the chambers prepared for him, Elias felt a mixture of anticipation and unease. He was not a warrior here, not yet. He was a student, a guest, and a potential ally. Everything depended on his ability to understand, adapt, and act wisely. That night, as he looked out over Zetheria from his window, Elias thought about Earth, about the humans who looked to the stars for hope, and about the strange, beautiful beings who now held the fate of the galaxy in their hands. Somewhere in the distance, the Karathi waited, unaware that humans had finally entered the galactic stage. Tomorrow, his journey would begin, not just as a diplomat, but as a bridge between two civilizations. Tomorrow, he would meet the challenges that could change history. And in the quiet of his chambers, Elias Kane made a silent vow. Humanity would not falter. The morning sun of Zetheria bathed the crystalline towers in golden light. Captain Elias Kane stepped onto the floating platform that would carry him across the capital city to the heart of the royal palace. Beside him walked Princess Nivara, her movements graceful and deliberate. She seemed almost to glide above the platform, her luminous eyes fixed ahead. Elias tried to match her pace, but felt every step grounded in human weight and gravity. "Your species is slower than mine," Nivara observed lightly, a small smile playing on her lips. "But your strength is steady. It is reliable." Elias chuckled softly. "I'll take that as a compliment." Nivara turned her eyes toward him, studying him as if she could see every thought that ran through his mind. Elias felt a mixture of curiosity and unease under her gaze. She was intelligent, cautious, and unlike anyone he had ever met. Yet there was an honesty in her expression that made him trust her instincts. Their first stop was the Hall of Knowledge, a vast chamber filled with glowing crystal panels that displayed Zetheria's history, science, and art. The walls pulsed with information, adapting to the observer's focus. Elias marveled at the technology, realizing that the Zalari had mastered not just physical construction, but also the architecture of thought itself. "Every citizen learns here," Nivara explained. "From history to strategy to arts and sciences. We are trained to understand our world and the worlds around us." Elias studied the holographic maps of neighboring systems, noting the patterns of star travel, trade routes, and defensive fortifications. "Your people are organized," he said. "Extremely organized. It must take generations to maintain this level of knowledge and culture." Nivara nodded. "It does, but it is necessary. The galaxy is not kind to the unprepared." As they walked, Elias noticed small differences in how people moved and communicated. The Zalari spoke in melodic tones, with gestures that seemed more meaningful than words alone. Their thoughts appeared measured, precise, with no wasted motion. Humans, by contrast, relied heavily on improvisation and instinct. He realized that bridging these differences would require not just intelligence, but patience. The princess guided him to a training courtyard, a vast area filled with both physical and mental exercises. Zalari cadets practiced combat simulations, their weapons and abilities enhanced by psychic energy. Light and energy swirled around them as they moved, creating a dazzling display of skill and power. "You will train here," Nivara said. "Not as a warrior, but as someone who must understand our people. Physical skill is part of our culture, and strategy cannot be taught from books alone." Elias nodded. "Understood. I may not have psychic abilities, but I have experience in tactical thinking and hand-to-hand combat." Nivara's eyes sparkled with approval. "Then you may have something to teach us as well. Humans are clever. That is valuable." Days passed, and Elias immersed himself in Zalari life. He learned their language, though it was difficult. Each word carried subtle emotional tones that humans rarely used. He studied their history, understanding the rise and fall of civilizations in the galaxy and the constant threats that forced the Zalari to adapt. He observed their diplomacy, noting that every action and decision was calculated. designed to create advantage while maintaining honor. Elias's presence caused whispers among the Zalari. Some admired the human for his courage and intelligence. Others doubted whether a human, untrained in psychic discipline, could ever truly belong among their people. Elias felt these judgments, but chose to focus on learning rather than proving himself. He knew that actions mattered more than opinions. Princess Navara became his guide, teacher, and slowly, companion. She explained the subtle meanings behind gestures, the importance of timing in speech, and the art of negotiation. She showed him how to wield Zalari technology, not just as tools, but as extensions of thought and will. During one lesson in the training courtyard, a challenge arose. A small group of cadets, testing new psychic combat simulations, lost control of their energy fields. Sparks and light arcs threatened to cascade across the courtyard. Without hesitation, Elias acted. Using his knowledge of physics and tactical thinking, he redirected the energy, stabilizing the simulation and preventing injury. Navara's eyes widened. "You think differently. You do not rely on psychic strength, yet you solved what we thought could only be solved with it." Elias shrugged modestly. "Sometimes the answer is in observation and logic, not just power." The incident impressed many Zalari, including some of the most skeptical elders. It became clear that human ingenuity could complement Zalari strength, reinforcing the potential for a strong alliance. Despite progress, cultural misunderstandings were frequent. Elias's human humor often confused the Zalari, who preferred clear and precise communication. His casual gestures, common among humans, sometimes offended those who valued ritual and symmetry. Navara guided him patiently, explaining when to adapt and when to remain true to his nature. One evening, as the twin moons of Zitharia rose, Elias and Navara walked along a crystal bridge spanning a glowing river. Reflections of light danced across the surface, creating the illusion of walking among stars. "You are learning quickly," Navara said softly. "Most humans would struggle, yet you adapt. You do not try to become one of us, but you find ways to work with us." Elias looked at her, considering his words carefully. "I am not Zalari. I will never be. But perhaps that is the point. I can offer something different, something your people need." Navara nodded. "Yes. Your strength lies in your difference, and yet you also show respect. That is rare among those who first come here." As the days turned into weeks, Elias found himself facing more than just cultural lessons. He began to encounter threats, subtle at first. Reports of Karathi scouts in nearby systems reached the palace. Minor sabotage attempts occurred within the city, though quickly contained. It became clear that not all external forces welcomed a human presence among the Zalari. One night, an alert sounded in the palace. Elias and Navara rushed to the observation tower to see a small fleet of Karathi vessels attempting to breach the city's outer defenses. The Zalari responded swiftly, deploying energy shields and interceptors, but the attackers were cunning, exploiting weaknesses in patrol patterns. Elias quickly assessed the situation. "Your defenses are strong, but they rely heavily on predictable patterns," he said. "We can create decoys and manipulate their sensors. If we act quickly, we can turn this to our advantage." Navara nodded, allowing him to coordinate with the Zalari tactical team. Using a combination of human improvisation and Zalari psychic strategy, they lured the Karathi fleet into a trap, neutralizing their attack before significant damage occurred. Afterward, Navara looked at Elias with newfound respect. "You are not just clever. You are brave. You act when others hesitate." Elias felt a sense of pride, tempered with awareness. This was only the beginning. The Karathi would test them again, and each encounter would demand more than strength. It would demand trust, teamwork, and vision. In quieter moments, Elias and Nivara shared conversations beyond strategy and training. They discussed philosophy, art, and the small pleasures of life on Zytheria. Nivara revealed her own hopes for the galaxy, her fears of losing worlds to war, and her admiration for humans' resilience. Elias shared stories of Earth, of humanity's struggles and triumphs, and the hope that drove them to explore the stars. Though the idea of marriage still hung over them as a formal duty, a bond began to form. It was built on mutual respect, shared challenges, and the recognition that together they could achieve more than either could alone. One morning, Elias stood on the balcony of his quarters, watching the city below. Cadets trained in the courtyard, scholars discussed ideas in the halls of knowledge, and Nivara passed through the streets, glowing with the pride and energy of her people. Elias thought about how far he had come, from a cautious diplomat to someone who understood that survival in this galaxy required both courage and connection. He knew the Queen's words were true. The galaxy was changing. Threats like the Korathi would not wait. But he also knew that humans, with their ingenuity, adaptability, and determination, could be more than mere allies. They could be equals. And as he watched the sun rise over Zytheria's crystal towers, Elias Kane made a silent vow. He would learn, he would adapt, and he would prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars, not just as observers, but as guardians, partners, and friends. The first steps toward alliance had been taken, but the path ahead promised both danger and discovery. Elias felt the weight of responsibility, but also a thrill he had never known. For the first time in his life, he was not just representing humans, he was showing the galaxy what humans could truly offer. And somewhere deep in the distance, the shadow of the Korathi fleet waited, unaware that the combination of human cunning and Zalari might soon challenge everything they believed. The calm of Zytheria was shattered one morning by the blaring alarms of the palace. Captain Elias Kane was already in the observation chamber, studying star charts when the warning lights flashed red. "Multiple Korathi warships approaching from the outer sector," reported Lieutenant Mira Chen, Elias's communications officer, now present on the platform. "They're moving faster than predicted." Elias stood, tension coiling in his chest. "How many ships?" 8 heavy cruisers and at least 20 smaller fighters," Mira replied. "They're heavily armed and coordinating their approach." Nivara appeared beside Elias, her expression calm but determined. "They test us again," she said. "We will defend the colonies, but this time, they are serious. They intend to strike at our heart." Elias nodded. He had learned a great deal about the Zalari in the past weeks, but this was different. This was not a training exercise or a minor intrusion. This was war. He followed Nivara to the Tactical Command Center, where the Zalari generals had already gathered. The room pulsed with holographic star maps, floating energy icons, and the hum of psychic networks linking the fleet. "Captain Kane," Lysara's voice echoed through the communications system. "Your presence is crucial. You have demonstrated insight beyond many of our own. Help us coordinate this defense. The future of Zytheria, and perhaps humanity, depends on it." Elias took a deep breath. "Understood, Your Majesty." He studied the fleet layout. The Korathi were approaching in a wedge formation, intending to pierce the outer defenses and attack the central colony. Standard Zalari defense relied on precision energy shields and psychic targeting. But the Korathi were unpredictable, attacking in waves designed to overwhelm. "We can't stop them with shields alone," Elias said, pointing at the projections. "We need to use decoys, manipulate their sensors, and create choke points. The smaller fighters can be lured into ambushes while the cruisers face concentrated energy blasts." Nivara's eyes glowed brighter. "Your human logic, it is different, yet effective. We will follow your plan." The battle began as the Karathi ships entered Zitharian space. The sky above the floating city lit up with streaks of energy as interceptors clashed with enemy fighters. Elias coordinated with both human and Zalari forces, issuing commands that combined instinct with careful calculation. The Karathi tried to split the fleet, but Elias anticipated their moves. He directed Zalari energy beams to create temporary barriers, channeling the enemy into areas where the fleet could strike together. Human pilots, under Elias's guidance, executed daring maneuvers that complemented the Zalari psychic strikes. One small group of enemy fighters broke through a weak point, heading directly toward the city's central reactor. Nivara noticed the threat and turned to Elias. "We cannot reach them in time." Elias's mind raced. "Trust me." He guided a squad of human interceptors, leading them through a risky maneuver that mirrored some of the Zalari psychic patterns, but relied on pure human improvisation. They cut off the Karathi fighters, forcing them to retreat before they could reach the reactor. The Zalari elders watched in awe. Elias's unconventional thinking had saved lives and prevented disaster. After hours of fighting, the Karathi withdrew, leaving behind only a few damaged ships. The victory was significant but costly. Energy shields flickered, and minor damage dotted the city. Citizens emerged cautiously, assessing the aftermath. In the aftermath, Nivara approached Elias. "You acted with courage and clarity," she said softly. "Most humans would panic. Most Zalari would hesitate, waiting for a psychic signal. You acted." Elias smiled faintly. "We act to protect those who cannot defend themselves. That's what humans do. And sometimes it works." For the first time, he saw more than respect in Nivara's eyes. There was admiration and perhaps the hint of something warmer. But Elias pushed the thought aside. There was still work to be done. The queen summoned Elias to the palace. Lysara's expression was serious. "You have proven your value in combat," she said. "But the Karathi are clever. They will strike again, and next time, the consequences may be greater. Your next challenge is not only defense, but preparation. You must teach, coordinate, and innovate." Elias nodded. "I understand. I will help train your forces and work on strategies for the next attack." Over the following days, Elias became an integral part of Zalari military planning. He studied the Karathi's previous encounters and predicted likely tactics. He helped develop counter-strategies, blending human unpredictability with Zalari precision. Cadets, soldiers, and even elders learned to appreciate his input, realizing that human thinking brought a new dimension to their defenses. Nivara spent every moment she could with him, not only observing, but learning from him as well. She asked questions, debated tactics, and occasionally challenged his assumptions. Their partnership evolved, built on respect, trust, and the shared goal of protecting their people. One evening, Elias and Nivara stood on a high balcony overlooking the city. Fires of the previous battle had been extinguished, and life slowly returned to normal. "You have changed the way my people see humans," Nivara said quietly. "Before you arrived, many doubted that humans could be reliable allies. Now, even the elders speak of your courage and wisdom." Elias looked out at the glowing towers. "I am only doing what any human would do. We learn, adapt, and protect. That is our way." Nivara studied him, her luminous eyes reflecting the city lights. "Your way? It is unlike ours, yet it complements us. Perhaps this is why the Queen's choice is wise." They shared a quiet moment of understanding. The bond between them had grown beyond duty. Though neither spoke of it openly, trust and admiration had deepened into something more, an unspoken promise that they would face whatever came together. But peace was fleeting. Scouts reported Karathi activity on the edges of Zitharian space. The next wave was likely larger and more dangerous. Elias began working on a long-term plan, combining fleet maneuvers, planetary defenses, and human-Zalari cooperation to prepare for the inevitable conflict. Training intensified. Human pilots practiced with Zalari cadets, learning to integrate psychic commands with instinctual maneuvers. Engineers and scientists collaborated to improve weapons, shields, and sensors. Elias encouraged creativity, teaching that unpredictability could be a weapon as powerful as raw strength. Nivara observed the integration closely. "Your people, they bring courage, but also flexibility," she remarked. "We rely too much on predictability. You teach us to think beyond tradition." Elias nodded. "Tradition is important, but survival requires adaptation. We cannot face the Karathi by following the same steps as before." Weeks passed, and the partnership between humans and Zalari strengthened. Citizens began to see humans not as outsiders, but as protectors, allies, and friends. Trade, culture, and shared knowledge flourished alongside the preparation for war. Then, the Karathi struck again, this time targeting an outlying colony near the edge of Zetherian space. Elias led a mixed human-Zalari strike force. Using a combination of psychic tactics and human ingenuity, they intercepted the Karathi fleet before it could reach the colony. During the battle, Nivara fought alongside Elias, coordinating attacks and defending critical positions. Side by side, they demonstrated not only their tactical skill but also their growing bond. They moved seamlessly together, anticipating each other's actions and complementing strengths. The victory was decisive. The Karathi retreated, and the colony was saved. For the first time, the Zalari fully acknowledged that humans were not only capable allies, but also essential partners in the defense of their civilization. After the battle, Lysara called a council. "Captain Kane," she said, her voice filled with pride, "you have shown us that humanity is a force to be respected. You have strengthened my people not just through strategy, but through courage, wisdom, and loyalty. The alliance we build will endure, thanks to your presence." Elias bowed. "I only did what any human would do. We protect, we adapt, and we learn from those around us. That is how we survive, and how we thrive." Nivara stepped forward, "And together, we will face the challenges ahead. Our bond of trust, strategy, and respect will guide both our peoples. The galaxy is dangerous, but united, we are stronger." Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. The road ahead was still uncertain. The Karathi would return, and challenges awaited. But he now understood something important. Humans were not alone in the galaxy. They had allies, friends, and a place among the stars. And somewhere deep in the darkness beyond Zetherian space, the Karathi fleet regrouped, unaware that their next battle would face not only advanced technology and psychic power, but also the cunning, courage, and creativity of humanity. The sky above Zetheria was calm, but tension lingered in the air like a storm waiting to break. Captain Elias Kane stood on the balcony of the palace, gazing at the distant stars. Scouts had reported unusual Karathi movements, larger than before, signaling a major assault. This time, there would be no warning, no minor skirmishes, only a decisive battle that could determine the fate of the sector. Princess Nivara joined him, her presence steady and reassuring. "They are preparing," she said quietly. "This is the moment we have been preparing for. Our people depend on us, and so do yours." Elias nodded. "We have learned much. We know their tactics, and we have something they do not expect, our ability to adapt." Together they walked to the Tactical Command Center, where human and Zalari officers were already at work. Holographic maps displayed the positions of both fleets. The Karathi fleet, larger than ever, was advancing with brutal efficiency. 8 capital ships, dozens of cruisers, and hundreds of fighters moved in a coordinated wedge. intent on piercing Zetharian defenses. Lysara's voice echoed through the hall. "Captain Kane, your counsel will be critical. Lead our forces if needed. Humanity has proven its value. Show us now what you are capable of." Elias stepped forward, scanning the holographic map. "We will divide their fleet. The smaller fighters will be lured into traps using decoy energy signatures. Our cruisers will split to create false targets, drawing the Karathi capital ships into concentrated fire zones. The fleet's psychic networks must focus on predicting their maneuvers, while humans handle unexpected variables. We cannot rely solely on tradition. We must combine intuition, skill, and unpredictability." Nivara watched him, pride evident in her glowing eyes. "Your plan, it is bold, but it could work. We trust you." The fleet deployed, and the battle began with a deafening roar. Energy beams sliced through the void, and the sky was filled with streaks of light as ships engaged in combat. Elias coordinated movements between human pilots and Zalari forces, communicating strategy and adapting in real time. The Karathi tried to overwhelm the outer defenses, but Elias's plan held. Decoys confused their targeting systems, and human ingenuity allowed for maneuvers that Zalari pilots would never consider. Together, they pushed the enemy into a trap where concentrated energy beams destroyed several Karathi capital ships. Amid the chaos, Nivara led a squadron to protect vulnerable colonies under attack. She communicated with Elias telepathically, coordinating movements and predicting enemy strikes. Their teamwork was flawless, a combination of human improvisation and Zalari precision. During a critical moment, one of the Karathi capital ships broke formation and attempted to target the palace. Elias acted instantly. Using a combination of human tactics and Zalari psychic guidance, he directed energy shields and interceptor ships to block the attack. The capital ship's weapons were neutralized before they could reach the city. Elias's actions inspired both humans and Zalari. Soldiers who had once doubted the humans now saw them as equals, essential allies whose intelligence and courage could not be underestimated. The bond between the two species was stronger than ever. Hours passed, but the tide of battle gradually turned in favor of the Zetharian-human alliance. The Karathi fleet, battered and demoralized, began to retreat. The alliance had proven its strength, not just in technology or psychic power, but in cooperation, adaptability, and courage. After the battle, Elias and Nivara stood together on a high balcony overlooking the city. Fires from minor skirmishes had been extinguished, and life slowly returned to normal. Citizens emerged cautiously, celebrating their victory while mourning losses. "You have changed the fate of Zitharia," Nivara said softly. "Your leadership, your thinking, your courage, you have proven that humans are not merely observers in this galaxy. You are protectors, partners, and equals." Elias smiled faintly. "We only did what humans always do. We learn, we adapt, and we act when it matters most. But we could not have done it alone. Your people's strength, skill, and trust made this possible." Lysara appeared, her regal presence commanding attention. "Captain Kane, your actions have secured not only the safety of my people, but the future of our alliance. Humans have earned our respect and gratitude. Today marks a new era, one in which our species will stand together against threats that neither could face alone." The Queen gestured to Princess Nivara. "And now, the bond between our peoples will be formalized. Captain Kane, do you accept this responsibility, not only to my daughter but to our alliance?" Elias bowed. "I accept, Your Majesty. Humanity stands with the Zalari, now and in the future, and I will honor this union not merely as a formality, but as a commitment to protect and strengthen both our peoples." Nivara stepped forward, her hand extended. "Together," she said, "we face what comes next, side by side." Elias took her hand, feeling a sense of unity and purpose he had never known. This was not just a political alliance, it was a partnership forged in trust, courage, and shared responsibility. In the following weeks, celebrations marked the alliance. Human and Zalari cultures intertwined. Knowledge, technology, and art were exchanged freely. Citizens of both species began to see each other as friends, partners, and equals. Elias and Nivara became symbols of this new era, proof that cooperation and trust could overcome even the greatest challenges. But the galaxy remained vast and dangerous. Scouts reported karate movements at the edges of explored space. Elias and Nivara knew that the Karathi would return, perhaps stronger and more cunning. Yet now humanity had allies, training, and experience. They would face the challenges together, prepared and united. One evening, Elias and Nivara stood together on the palace balcony, watching the twin moons rise over the crystal towers. The city below glowed peacefully, a testament to resilience and cooperation. "You have proven that humans belong among the stars," Nivara said softly. "Not just as observers, but as guardians, thinkers, and friends. Your people have earned a place here." Elias looked out at the horizon, feeling both pride and responsibility. "We will continue to learn, to adapt, and to protect. Humanity will not falter, and we will stand together with the Zalari and with all who seek peace and justice in the galaxy." Nivara smiled, her glowing eyes reflecting the moons. "Then our bond is more than a promise of alliance. It is a legacy. Together, we will shape the future." The two of them stood silently, watching the stars. The battle was won, but the galaxy was vast and full of unknowns. Still, they were ready. Humans and Zalari, together, had proven that courage, intelligence, and trust could face any challenge. And somewhere far beyond Zytheria, the Karathi fleet regrouped, unaware that the combined strength of humanity and Zalari had created a force they could not easily defeat. The stage was set for the future, a future of cooperation, exploration, and hope. For the first time, Elias Kane felt the full weight of humanity's potential. Not as conquerors, not as outsiders, but as true partners in a galaxy that was wide, dangerous, and full of possibility. The sun rose over Zytheria, illuminating the crystal towers, the glowing rivers, and the fleets that now patrolled the stars. Humans and Zalari stood together, stronger than ever. And as Elias looked at Nivara by his side, he knew that this was only the beginning, not just of a partnership, but of a legacy that would endure for generations. The galaxy was vast, the dangers were real, but together they could face anything. Humanity had arrived, not as observers, but as a force to be reckoned with, respected and celebrated. And the alliance had begun.